Hello and welcome back to the Fulhamish YouTube channel. And on today's video, we're going to be looking ahead to Sheffield United against Fulham at Bramall Lane this Sunday. So I'm Don Betts, as you all know, and joining me is the Travelling Blade to look ahead to Sunday as well. Pretty much relegation six-pointer. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Enjoying the time off from Sheffield, losing every week, of course. Obviously, England international football is pretty boring, but Sheffield aren't losing, so it's a nice break from it all at the minute.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. This international break sort of been a sort of breath of fresh air because, you know, the season's been so on top. With obviously we made it into 3 rounds of the cup, so you had them all in September as well. Be good to sort of just take a step back, relax, and think, and sort of rethink and how to go ahead into the season. But if we look at Sheffield United last season to start off with, really, what do you think made them so successful in the Premier League last season?
I remember when we started on, Chris Wilder said, obviously, because people are going, you're going to still play the same way with your very attacking, overlapping centre backs. And he said, I'm going to have to adapt it a bit, but I'm not going to take a wrecking ball to our tactics. We played in that very same way. Whoever we played, whether it be Man City away, Liverpool away, we went to try and attack the game. We went to win every game if we could. And also, I think what one thing that was really crucial for us getting that top 10 finish and beforehand even pushing for the top 6 was how resolute our defence was, because we weren't the best at scoring goals, really. We didn't score too many, but a lot we'd have a couple of games where we maybe got 1 or 2 games like that, but a lot of the time it'd be 1 or 2 goals, and I think our resolute defence, especially on the road, earned us a lot of key points. It's always good at home to get a lot of wins. On the away, we got quite a lot of draws on the road, but those draws just kept it ticking over. So I think how resolute our defence was last season, as well as Dean Henderson in net, meant that even though we weren't scoring too many goals, those goals did get us quite a few points just by how resolute our defence was.
So if we talk about, obviously, you know, the season came to a halt during the end of March, and you know, you guys were going great. Everyone was talking about good Sheffield United possibly break into Europe for next season. What do you think changed when obviously Project Restart started back over in the summer in June and July?
I think it's really hard to put it onto one thing, because it's sort of the whole team in every aspect, every position seemed to get worse. It wasn't the defence got worse. The strikers, even Dean Henderson wasn't as good. Everyone in every position just was half the player they were before lockdown. I think one thing that's really cost us was the fans not being there. Talk about 12th man. I really think we're missing that I think we're missing that more than most of the teams. I think we're really missing that, just driving the players on, because they're nowhere near what they used to be. And I think one thing that might have got their heads down initially was our first game back was away at Aston Villa, and we had the infamous ghost goal where we scored, but Hawkeye wasn't turned on, and we didn't get the goal. So that meant that the 0-0 draw would have been a 1-0 win to us. And I think that seemed to just get our heads down, and we didn't really pick up for quite a while after that. I think one of the next games was away at Manchester United, I believe. We had a couple of injuries that game. I think we were missing 2 key defenders. We couldn't play Dean Henderson. And that game against Man United, it was soul destroying to watch, because Man U, it should have been at 5-6-0. They were absolutely all over us. Whereas before in the season, they came to Bramall Lane and we had a really, really good game. We ended 3-3. You know, it was tit for tat and everything. This time, they just absolutely walked all over us. And 3-0 was actually a compliment to us in the end. And we just kept getting walked over, and then something changed. I think we had a game against Wolves, really tight, gritty game. Got a late winner, so we beat Wolves. Next game we beat Spurs 3-1. Then we beat Chelsea 3-0. You're thinking, Christ, we're better than ever before now. And then after the Chelsea defeat, we just went back to being absolutely useless. Silly mistakes, really, really poor mistakes, just going through people's legs needlessly. Egan getting sent off for nothing. Just giving the ball away without any pressure on us. It was really simple stuff. It was like watching people, because beforehand we played as such a cohesive unit, and then where it was like clockwork, and then after lockdown it was like a bunch of strangers that were playing their first game of football together. they looked like it was absolute strangers. They didn't know what to do. It looked like they didn't even know they had to score a goal to try and win the game. It was just clueless, silly mistakes, and we were nowhere near it. It looks like we weren't even trying at points, to be honest. It looked like we'd just given up. It was really painful to watch.
So if we talk about obviously moving into the summer and your transfer business, you brought obviously in Brewster, brought back Aaron Ramsdale, Oliver Burke, Ethan Ampadu on loan. What did you make of Sheffield United's transfer business this summer?
I mean, I'm actually quite happy with it all. I think we've improved in squad depth, because I think last season, two of our best players, well, up until lockdown, were Baldock and Stevens, which were our wing backs, and they were brilliant. Well, like I said, up until lockdown, but we had no good cover. So if one of them got injured or suspended, we'd have whoever came in was going to be like nowhere near as good. So I think we brought in people like Maxlow, Jaden Bogle, who can cover in those positions and just provides a bit of competition. Because like I said, Ender Stevens and George Baldock haven't got to the heights they were once at. So a bit of competition for them, bit of squad depth. Ampadu again, I mean, quite important. We brought him in as defensive cover because Jack O'Connell's going to be out for the season now. Slightly different defensive position. I don't think he will stand in for Jack O'Connell, but we still need that defensive cover. Obviously, Ramsdale's a bit of a bittersweet one, because we want obviously he's not as good as Dean Henderson. I'd say he's still a very good goalkeeper. He's just a bit below. If Dean Henderson's like a 9 out of 10, I'd say Ramsdale's at least 7.5. But Henderson would never come back because of what Man United wanted us to pay for him just to have him on loan. They wanted us to pay him like $100,000 a week, all of his wages for one season loan. He's made a couple of errors here and there, but people forget so did Dean Henderson in some very crucial matches, especially Liverpool at home. He cost us 2 points that day. It cost us 1 point that day. He also made some big mistakes. I think he will get better, and also he is a blade through and through. Came through our academy, I believe, and he's actually ours now, which is you can put a price on that, but that is really important rather than having someone on loan and training them up for Man United. Brewster's been brought in because our potency up front at the minute is absolutely woeful. I think there's quite a lot of pressure going on his shoulders going into the games, nonetheless against you this weekend, because we just need something up front, because I think Billy Sharp's past it, a little bit club legend, but he's not going to do anything for us anymore. McBurney, it's not working for him at the minute. I think he looks a bit gangly, a bit clumsy. He did all right for his last season, but he just looks a bit ungamely on the ball. McGoldrick, brilliant number 10, an absolutely brilliant number 10, just struggles to finish. That said, he got a brilliant goal against Arsenal, but he's more like link-up play. I think Ollie Burke's brilliant because he's got speed. He's actually pretty good on the ball as well, but just some actual decent pace is something we rarely have at Sheffield United. But I think Ryan Brewster coming in, he's got a great finish on him. I reckon he's young. So we can hopefully develop him. I think the only downside to that deal is the buyback I think it's like a 40 million buyback clause by Liverpool in 3 years. Like, I think someone described it as basically a fancy loan, basically, a dressed up loan deal from Liverpool. But we really need some potency up top. But I just think at the minute, I think we've improved the squad. We've brought in some squad improvements and we've got a better squad depth, but I still feel like we're in a weaker position than we were last season. But I don't think that's not really based on who's in the squad. It's just based on how well we're playing. Because last season, the same players were playing twice as good as they are now.
Yeah, so if we look ahead, obviously look at your fixtures you've had so far this season, we've actually played fairly similar teams. Actually, we've obviously lost to Arsenal, Leeds, and Aston Villa as well. Obviously, you lost to Wolverhampton Wanderers as well. What do you think's gone wrong so far this season? Obviously, there was that loss to Burnley on penalties in the cup as well.
I mean, what I've noticed is just I'm trying to think back to the Wolves game. I think we struggle. Game by game, we're getting, maybe not the Arsenal game because they just dominated us for periods of that, but we're getting closer and closer to how we can play. You can see that it's there. There are hints of it. Each game it's got a little bit closer to playing as well as we can do. We're not getting there, but you can just see game by game it's getting a bit closer. So it's like I don't think it's crisis point for us yet, because you can see that we are getting there. It's like just warming up. It's taking its time in 4 games and we're not even close to where we were. But what it has been, although the overall game might not have been too bad, it's key points. I mean, the Wolves game, bad decision by Lundstrom. Next minute, 1-0 down in 3 minutes. 3 minutes later, we're 2-0 down in 6 minutes. And it's just like been momentary defensive lapses that have just thrown the game out the window. And then no matter how well we've played overall, it's just cost us. Same with Leeds game. I think we actually were the better team that game. Obviously the bias, but I think we stopped Leeds from playing. Obviously we saw in your game against Leeds how attacking they are, how they just have come down and absolutely, come down like jets almost down the sides and just tear defenses apart. We stopped Leeds from playing. We really stifled the game for them. I think we had the better chances that we should have finished. Their goalkeeper Meslier played the game of his life, but we just didn't take our chances. And then the goal for them, the defence had just stood there looking around and the ball's over the top to Bamford. And it was just like, we've played so well all game. And then just something as stupid and careless as that costs us and we get no points and they get 3. I mean, the Arsenal game, both their goals were just tore us apart, really. I mean, there's very little we could have done about that. They just sort of walked through us. We just need to be stronger at the back. The Villa game, obviously, it's a bit of silliness from John Egan getting caught out. I don't think it was a red, but he shouldn't have been caught out by the high ball. Once again, we had a penalty, didn't take it, and then they get a free header. So I think overall, the blueprints of the style of play that have got us into the Prem and got us that top 10 finish in the Prem that we've become renowned for, that style of play. You can see there's like whispers of it, and we're getting a bit closer each game. Maybe not the Arsenal game. You can see it's still there. They're just really, really taking their time to get up to full speed. But because we aren't at full speed, we can't afford any momentary lapses in the back, and that's what costing us. Wolves' first game of the season, 2-0 down in 6 minutes. It's just staff mistakes like that. And also, what's also going wrong is the few chances we are creating, we can't take to save our life at the minute. We've got no potency up top.
Yeah, so look at hearing what you said there. It seems different to the reason why we failed, because we failed simply because we've been incompetent at the back. I mean, that's. Yeah. But whereas you guys, it seems, obviously looking at your results, you've only lost by the odd goal, except for that Wolves game. And then again, you were as I said, conceded 2 goals in very quick succession. So you saying that you've actually played not badly in these games. It's just these moments of lapse of concentration and this lack of a clinical edge which other teams have had. It feels weird saying clinical edge and Bamford in the same sentence still, but I mean, so do you think Ryan Brewster could be not the difference, but something that could so hopefully turn your guys' seasons around? Us, hopefully not this weekend.
I mean, hopefully. I don't want to put too much pressure on his shoulders, but I think you see, he was like missing chances and key chances that are the difference between winning a game or losing a game, or even just getting a draw. And I think I don't want to put all the pressure on his shoulders. Like you're the only one that's going to be able to do this. But it's just something else. I think he's probably more natural finisher than what we've got in at the minute. Given some of his, obviously, just watch those compilation highlights reels when he was at Swansea. I don't know how because was he on a loan for you last season then at Swansea?
Yeah, he was on a year loan at Swansea. I think it was year loan or 6 months loan, and he sort of started towards the end of the season. He started scoring goals left, right, and centre, and that was one of the main reasons why I'd say they got that late push into the top 6. Also helped that Nottingham Forest just were Nottingham Forest and completely dropped out of it. But yeah, his goals were crucial for them last season. But obviously, there is the step up between obviously the Champions Premier League, as everyone knows, but. I've always thought when you're a striker, you know where the back of the net is. The size of the goal. Well, unless you're Jose Mourinho away in some Moldovan Premier League side, the size of the goal doesn't change. So if you can score goals, I mean, we've seen it with the likes of Andre Gray and Charlie Austin when they've come to the Premier League, and Glenn Murray as well when they've been clinical in the Championship. They can convert that into the Premier League. Obviously, still a young player. We saw Tammy Abraham sort of make the move after his loan move at Aston Villa to Chelsea last season and scoring a decent amount of goals. So yeah, I think Ryan Brewster will definitely add something to your attack because
he just feel like. I mean, I imagine a lot of people will dress it up as a relegation 6-pointer. I really hope that we've got more potential, even if we do lose this game. I still believe we have got the potential in us. We just need to find that last piece of the puzzle. Maybe that is Ryan Brewster that just unlocks the form we used to have, the way we used to play, unlocks all that, and then we can just climb up the table to a steady, comfortable finish around mid-table, perhaps. Whereas I suppose it's different for you because, well, this is, for us, everyone says, oh, it's second season syndrome. So we know how well we can play. We're playing against teams that we did beat or draw against last season. But I suppose for Fulham, you're trying to find your place if you've got one in the Premier League, trying to find your feet. It's all about just staying up. Whereas for us, initially, it was about getting another top 10. Now it just seems to be about just staying up. I think it might be a bit too early to call it a relegation 6-pointer, but it definitely feels a bit like one at the minute.
So, from your perspective, for this season, is the aim for you just make sure we don't have a second season syndrome and end up going down, or are you looking at trying to solidify yourself as a upper sort of bottom half mid-table side in the Premier League?
I mean, ideally, I would like to, push for the latter, but the longer we leave it, the more it's just going to be about survival. We really need to kick in. Basically, now, we're getting the middle of October now. It's quite a compact season. I think we've got about international football, we've got a couple of injuries to key players. I think John Egan's isolating because of Corona, so it's not ideal. We're missing people like Jack O'Connell, who is instrumental to our style of play. And I hope, before the season started, I thought, push for about, I was trying to be like realistic, 14th perhaps, 14th and above. Now I'd take 16th at the minute because of just how bad it's been, and I'm worried that how long are we going to leave it before we can actually get back to the form we can, if we actually can do that. But the longer it goes on with this poor form, the more it's just going to be about survival. If we can kickstart now, it's very easy for us to just a couple of wins and draws away from home, climb back up to around a 10th finish. I'd like us to finish top 10, but at the minute, I had to take your hand for 15th.
Yeah, so if we're looking at the two sides, obviously we spoke about your lack of clinical edge in front of goal and defensive lapses on concentration, but obviously if Fulham are to capitalise this weekend, which would be very tough for us to do because, even our last game at Bramall Lane was that mental 5-4 game when we went up in 17-18, which when Ryan Sessegnon scored that hat-trick. But if you're looking at this game and from a Fulham fan perspective, where would you see as the key areas that Fulham need to exploit Sheffield United?
I think, what seems to be struggling, just get crosses into the box. We just seem to be a bit incompetent at defending them at the minute. But if you've got, I'm not sure how quick Mitrovic is, but if you can only get balls over the top, if we've got a high line, we might be on the attack, so we might be sat quite high. If you can get any balls over the top, I'm not sure if John Egan will be playing, but I love John Egan. He's brilliant, but he does seem to get caught out with the high ball over the top, mistiming the header, not quite getting it, being in the wrong position. He struggles to catch up with defenders, often gives away a foul, gets sent off. So high balls over the top, through to someone to run onto. I'd say crosses in from the flanks. We seem to be struggling with them at the minute. But to be honest, we'll probably just give the ball back to you every 5 minutes. So as long as you can keep possession fairly well, you should be fine. Yeah,
I feel like just be a game of just giving each other the ball back because of the incompetence at the back. So, look, as I said, talking about the game on Sunday, what sort of lineup are you expecting Chris Wilder to play on Sunday?
See, obviously, it'd be the same formation as ever, but I just remember, from this week, I've seen a few things like McGoldrick's injured, Ollie Burke's injured. I don't know if there was someone else. I imagine we'll have Jack Robinson, Chris Basham, and, hopefully John Egan, but I've heard that he's isolating, so that might be Ampadu at the back. I'd say Bollock and Stephen as your wing-backs. I'm hoping he's going to start Ryan Brewster, maybe start him alongside McGoldrick. Because McGoldrick, he's not the best finisher. I know he scored a brilliant goal against Arsenal, but his link-up play and creative play is pretty fantastic, to be fair, as a number 10. And then the midfield three, I'm not sure if Berger got injured as well. I'd like to see Norwood come back in, because when he plays, he sometimes looks like he's a bit of a luxury player, because his long floated passes are absolutely brilliant. And he sometimes isn't that great and looks like a bit of a luxury player, but also I think it's easy to forget that his passing is instrumental to why we are in the Prem, how we play, switching us quickly from defence to attack, finding passes that no one else on the pitch would be able to see. Hopefully he's back. I'd like to see Fleck back just for that grittiness and confidence on the ball. And if he's not injured, Sander Berger as well, because I think he's going to be a future star. Hopefully, a future star for us as well. And he seemed like one of the better players we've had this season. When everyone else has been all at sea, he's seemed one of the more composed, brighter sparks in a pretty dull affair so far.
So, if I'm going to push you for a score prediction for the game, what are you going to go with?
I'm going to go with 2-2.
2-2. So yeah, as you can tell, it is going to be a very close affair. I think both teams need to get. I think a draw is probably a better result for us, but both teams really need to start getting the wins on the board here. Otherwise, they are just going to be playing catch up for the rest of the season. But thanks very much to the Travelling Blade for coming on the Fulhamish YouTube channel. As you guys know, I've been Don Betts. This has been our Sheffield United preview. Let's look ahead to Sunday. I know it's going to be annoying having to either pay 15 quid or find some other way of watching the game. But yeah, thanks to you for watching, guys. This has been Fulhamish, you Whites.